Welcome to the Wedge presentation done by the natural gas group of Jess, Kasie, Deanna, and Justin. This is our wedge diagram. Transport efficiency is our first wedge. We would cut down on emissions of CO2 by changing our miles per gallon from 30 to 60, and this would be achieved by 2060. Also, the majority of the cars today would have to be either converted or changed or be non-existent anymore and would have to be hybrid or diesel engines. We chose this because we figured that it would cut down on a lot of CO2 and it would help the environment. Our next wedge is transport conversion. To achieve this wedge, we would have to cut all the miles traveled by all the vehicles in the entire world in half. Also, we would have to increase our public transportation and mass transit. A lot of companies would also have to use technology such as electronic communication rather than face-to-face meetings. We chose this one because we believe that it would not change a lot of people's lifestyles and would be very convenient.
Building efficiency is replacing insulation with higher efficiency insulation in new and existing buildings. Also replacing fuel, water heating, and cooling with solar energy.
Another great way to cut down on carbon emissions would be wind electricity. We would need to produce about 1 million large windmills based off the current windmill farms. We would also have to have a landform of about the size of Germany. We could also place this in the ocean rather than taking up our land mass.
CCS electricity would store 1 million tons of CO2 underground per year. This would capture the CO2 and not release it into the atmosphere. We chose this because it would keep our atmosphere cleaner.
Fuel switching for electricity is switching coal-burning plants for electricity to natural gas plants. This would require 1,400 new large natural gas plants. Also, would only emit about half of the emissions of carbon as a coal-based plant, which is about 1 billion compared to 2 billion. We chose this one because of the amount of carbon emissions that it gives out, which is only about half. Biofuels is our next wedge. Biofuels would require about 1/6 of our world's cropland and also an area roughly the size of India. The savings would require today's global ethanol production to decrease about 12%. Also, we chose this because of the fact that burning biofuels does not increase our atmosphere CO2 concentration.
Our last wedge is forest storage. Halting global deforestation in the next 50 years would provide one wedge of emissions savings. New forests would have to be made over an area the size of the United States. We picked this wedge because plants and soil can contain large amounts of carbon. Our
final and last slide is going to be about how everyone feels, such as the taxpayers, energy companies, environmental groups, manufacturers, industrialized country governments, and the developing country governments. Taxpayers are going to be around a 3 because their taxes are going to go up. They're not going to be happy about that, but then they're going to think about how much we're helping the environment and cutting down on CO2 emissions. The energy companies, they're not going to be happy at all. They're going to score around a 2 because they're going to have to change, rebuild, and make new technologies to keep up with these demands. The environmental groups are going to score around a 4 because they're going to be happy with the decreases at emissions that we're going to be creating. And the manufacturers are going to score around a 5 because they're going to be making more money off of the citizens of the world by having new technologies that we're going to have to buy to keep up with these wedges. The industrialized country governments like America are going to score around a 3 because they're going to be happy about the cut down of emissions. And developing country governments are going to score around a 2 because they're going to struggle to keep up with the new technologies that we demand to have, and they're just not going to have the money to pay for it. Thank you for listening to our wedge presentation. Hope you liked it.